Happy Wednesday, good people, and welcome to WWT Live, where today we are all young, gifted, and elite.
I am your forever ROH Women's Champion, your fallen goddess, the Alpha, the Minion, Overlord, the ROH Gatekeeper, but most of all, I am the best in the world, Athena, and you are watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Big happy Wednesday to everyone, and welcome to another edition of WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. I am Gerard Bonner, aka GB, aka the Professor, or whatever you feel like calling me today. I think I'll be all right with it. We've got a lot of ground to cover, including an incredible episode of NXT. We saw Athena at the top of our show, and we'll be talking about her. And then there's AEW. We'll get into all of that. But first, my esteemed panel. And we kick it off, of course, with an elected official. It's always great to have an elected official with us. He is the councilman. Councilman Pharaoh's in the building. How are you, Councilman?
Say his name and he appears. Councilman Who is here. Because I am definitely looking like one of the Who's from Whoville right now. I told the professor when I got on there, I was like, "Oh, we're gonna be like hair twins." I'm so sorry because this is the what you see on socials. This is the reality.
That's so funny.
That's
hilarious. That's hilarious. Absolutely, positively hilarious. Well, we are also not alone. We are joined by probably the sweetest part of all things women's wrestling talk. She is wrestling with Honey. Honey, how are you?
Happy middle of the week Wednesday.
Yeah. You can do it. We can be a trio. We can trio this out.
We can get some trio champs up in here.
We'll be the trio champions. How about that?
Hey guys, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Middle of the week, and it's almost over, and there's still so much more to talk about. It's great. I love it. I love it. And by the way, everybody in this chat needs to put hashtag NXT Bonnerfied. You know what to do. You know what's up. AKA NXT Bonnerfied. He forgot that nickname in the intro.
Oh, well, then there's that, right?
Then there's that. Yes.
And since we mentioned Elite, of course she would appear. She is the PR of all PRs and the beauty queen, the Elite one. Courtney is in the building. How are you, Courtney?
Hello, it is Happy Wednesday. It is All Elite Wednesday, but also talking about from last night's NXT because they're getting ready for Chicago. So there's a lot to cover.
There's absolutely a lot to cover. Now, you guys can confirm this for me because I was doing something last night. I don't remember what I was doing, but whatever I was doing, I started getting text messages where people started talking about me on NXT again, which I was just like, oh boy.
There was a nice video vignette of yesterday of last week's episode. And when I tell you once again, NXT Bonnerfied was running wild in this vignette. I'm talking about multiple shots.
Bonner Mania.
Multiple shots being
Bonner Mania.
This is wild to me. This is completely unhinged. But with that said, I understand we've got a new teammate joining us, and I'm excited to meet him. I thought I briefly saw him on Monday. Dion is here. How are you, sir?
Okay, just fighting the Atlanta traffic a little bit to get back home. That's about it.
Now, so, if anyone understands Atlanta traffic, it is I. So I get it. Very good.
Good.
Very good. You doing all right, sir?
Doing good. Just catching my breath. I'm good to go. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Awesome. It's great to have you with us. And we've got all kinds of amazing people hanging out with us in the chat. Easy Knot is, I hope I said that right.
Yes,
and if I didn't, okay, Easy Knot. All right. Very good. And of course, DM Hunk. I think that's just the funniest, the funniest, absolutely. And it's always good to see the other half of All Things Honey. That's really cool. Cousin Ron is in the building. Good to see you. Jeffrey is here. Boza is here. This is good. Yeah, it's gonna be a very, very fun Wednesday. I can kind of feel that already. So, all right, well, let's get into it. I know you expect us to start with NXT, and under normal circumstances, we would. But when this particular story came across my desk, I said we have to talk about this first because we actually alluded to it several months ago. So, to give context, we have to go back to remember when I almost called him Jungle Boy, but Jack Perry, he came back to AEW and they were in Jacksonville, right? And there's this moment where he's supposed to be re-signing with AEW, and then he beats up Tony Khan, and they, put this tombstone or the Meltzer driver on Tony Khan. Tony Khan gets carried out. But the problem is the next day is this little happening called the NFL draft, where he's got to be there. And so Tony Khan shows up in full neck brace, but there were cameras around, cameras from NFL Films. Well, we heard that they would be filming a documentary on him, and said documentary airs tonight. Tonight before AEW Dynamite. It will air at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1. Put together by NFL Films. It is only 30 minutes long, so it probably won't be the tell-all that TK was looking for. But I am curious, what do you think we're going to learn, if anything, about Tony Khan in this documentary? Dion, let's start with you first.
Well, I saw the clip of the recording with him in the neck brace a while back and then today, too. I don't think we'll get too much into the person Tony Khan, because what's his title for the Jaguars? Because he's some sort of analytical sort of
yeah, it's some funky title that he's got.
Yeah, it's supposed to be all about.
We'll find that out.
Yeah, it's supposed to be all about analytics or something like that, and maybe we get a chance to see how that mind works with football just a bit. But sometimes Tony Khan can be a lot, but I kind of appreciate the neck brace. Because I think Pat McAfee did the same thing too at a UFC event. So I appreciate it, but from the clip I saw, a lot of people look at him weird because they're like, what is he doing? And this is NFL Films. So I don't think we'll learn too much.
It is NFL Films. So if you're going to watch thinking you'll learn a lot about AEW, you might not. But who knows? Who knows? That's the real question, because obviously the neck brace will bring some conversation about that. And for clarity's sake, his official title with the Jacksonville Jaguars is the Chief Football Strategy Officer. That is, yeah. So I guess he's the CFSO, if we're going to use abbreviations.
Acronyms, yeah.
Yeah, right? Courtney, I know you're a massive AEW fan. Are you excited about this NFL doc for Tony Khan, and what do you think we'll learn from it?
I'm trying to be a little bit nice because week 1 my Dolphins did beat his Jaguars, but I'm really happy for Tony because I think a lot of people know him from AEW, but they don't know his specific position within the Jacksonville Jaguars. Because I actually shared something on my story a couple days ago that AEW actually had a match right before the Jaguars game at home. So I think a lot of people don't know his connection with football. So that's really exciting to really dive into. And it's also a plus for them to really have that connection, especially specifically he works for a football team and his dad owns it. So that gives a lot more exposure. And also with the brace, he sold it very, very well because he was actually talking to Ian Rappaport and he was on the Rich Eisen show with his neck brace. So that also was very true. But, I know people always give Tony a bad rep, but he does have his good moments. He does have his bad moments. He does have interesting moments in between. But I think it's really nice for him to see his stuff that he does outside of AEW.
So to Courtney's point, let me ask you this, Councilman. Do you think the NFL Films doc, which granted it's only 30 minutes, but is that enough to perhaps sway some of the public opinion about Tony Khan?
As far as an AEW or just him in a whole?
Well, I think in AEW and as a whole, I'm not sure that the football fans are as dialed into Tony Khan because he's not as much of a front man in the NFL as he is in AEW.
Gotcha. Maybe, but if he answers the question as to when you gonna start carrying my team, boy, when you gonna start taking care of my team? We ain't been to the Super Bowl because y'all make dumb decisions. Now, I don't know a lot about football. I don't know how many slam dunks you can get on the goal post or nothing like that. But my daddy is
slam dunks.
He is from Jacksonville. He is a diehard Jaguars fan, which means I bleed the leopard blood too. When you gonna stop messing with our team?
What colors what's the team colors, Will?
The team colors are what's that green they got? It ain't green. It's like a bluish green.
Like an aqua.
Teal. It ain't that blue behind me.
It's a teal.
It's that one. It's gold. There's gold in there. There's white. There's black in there as well. And then, of course, the Jaguar right there. Look, just because I don't know football, I don't know how many 3-point shots they can make in a whole game. I know LeBron ain't never been on the team. Like, why you don't draft these people? You know what I'm saying? Russell Westbrook ain't doing nothing. Bring him to the Jaguars.
Oh man!
Oh boy!
Perhaps you gonna do something with our team.
Perhaps maybe you need to write a letter to the chief football strategy officer because obviously the team needs a strategy, better one.
Who knows? They may win on Monday. It's a long shot, but who knows? They may win on Monday. They're 0-2. I don't know.
We've lost hope. We've lost hope. We're like the Oakland Raider fans. We know ain't nothing happening. We know ain't nothing happening.
Wow.
We lost.
He took it back to Oakland. They're not even in Oakland.
Yeah, they're not even there anymore.
No, they're in Vegas now. They're in Vegas. They have a whole stadium.
Where Vegas get a team?
Vegas has had this team for a couple of years, and they actually play where WrestleMania will be next year.
Are the Angels still out there?
Wait, the Oakland A's?
Is that what they are named?
Athletics? Yeah.
I used to play for the A's. When I was a little boy, I used to play on a baseball team called the A's.
Oh my God.
Didn't know they were an actual team in Oakland. But yeah, hopefully if he answers that, like, what can we do about our football team? And what is your strategy when it comes to that? Because I'm tired of seeing my daddy every time during the Super Bowl. Just so sad. So sad when the playoffs come. And who was that boy? Who was it? It was some football. It was some quarterback that didn't play no more, and we could have got him. I forgot his name. This was like years ago though. What was his name? And he became a commentator.
Was it Tebow? Was Tebow going back to Jacksonville?
Yes, that was. I don't know if Tony Khan was there. That was the biggest mess up the Jaguars ever did, not signing him.
I'd agree. He won national championships there, so yeah.
He did. Yeah. He did. He ended up going to the Jets, if I remember, and that didn't bode very well for him. So, yeah, very interesting. So the question's been asked, does anyone know, Dylan asked, does anyone know if the neck brace that TK wore for about 48 hours will be in the documentary? It is. It's in the trailer. Yes. So it's absolutely there. And the question was asked in the trailer, what's he doing? What's wrong with him? Yeah. And to me, and this is what was crazy to me. Maybe it was just me. Honey, maybe you can talk about this if you saw the trailer. The last thing that they say on the trailer, they ask, hey, what's going on with his neck? And somebody goes, yeah, he got pile drived last night. He's just, trying to play the role. And that's the last thing they say in this trailer. Like, honey, is it my imagination or is that problematic considering that was the clip on AEW's Twitter page?
Well, so I think that's I think that it's possibly a way for them to have football fans that don't understand what's going on with Tony maybe gravitate, the viewership going from football into wrestling and see what's the deal with Tony Khan. Like, why is he even wearing a brace? A lot of people wouldn't even know that he was just doing it for kayfabe and all of that and everything that happened. He got pile drived and Jack Perry and the Young Bucks. And I don't really know. I'm sure that's intentional. I'm not sure why they would make that something like be like the last thing you hear in a trailer. Usually that's not how it is. Usually they would put that like in the middle so it makes you care about a situation. You'd be like, oh, okay, I want to see what happens. But it's only going to be a 30-minute documentary. That's not too much time to tell what really happened. So I think this is just going to pretty much be NFL, obviously NFL related.
Yeah. I'm low-key concerned about the NFL burying pro wrestling in that trailer. And then AEW promoting it because it's our guy, Tony Khan. I'm like, we take a good thing and make it look really, really bad. But what do I know?
It sounds like Tony Khan needs to find a chief strategy officer for AEW as well. I mean, that is position. Oh, wait, that's for the NFL. Oh, never mind.
Well, to that end, we'll see if said chief strategy officer actually work, because they're in the midst of these media rights discussions. And the word on the street is that we could have an official announcement about AEW's media situation in the next week. But the details about this that we're hearing so far are very, very interesting. So there's talk right now that there's a deal that's being put together with Warner Brothers Discovery that's going to be a 4-year contract. 3 of those years are guaranteed. The 4th one is optional. And this could be one of the biggest pieces of it. It's believed that AEW will get $170 million per year with this particular deal. It'll put AEW programming again on TNT and TBS, along with True TV. And the talk about True TV for putting AEW on there is so that True TV can kind of transition from being this law kind of space to being more of a sports type of network. That's what's being believed. Now, there's still not talk in terms of what this does for pay-per-view, streaming, or anything like this. But that is what the deal is believed to be. Do you think this is a good situation for AEW if indeed this deal goes through? Councilman, we'll start with you.
For them, yes. The people they doing it with, I don't know. I've heard a lot of stuff going on at Warner Brothers, from layoffs, tax issues, like the IRS after them. Like, we didn't forget y'all shelved Batgirl like that and denied us Michael Keaton.
And the Looney Tunes movie too.
Or the Wile E. Coyote movie. So I'm just curious, like, it sounds great, but will it go through? Because I'm just seeing a lot of negative news from Warner Brothers. So I just don't know. This still kind of sounds like a shaky deal. But like you said, if it's not, it sounds like a great deal for them. And it seems like they just keep climbing up. But I am definitely concerned after a lot of the stuff I've been hearing about Warner Brothers.
Interesting. Honey, your thoughts on this potential deal for AEW?
I think this is potentially a great deal for them. I'm not sure how great, given the history, as Councilman briefly stated, but this is a big move. This is kind of a big move for AEW. Warner Brothers has been around for a very, very long time, and to have a partnership as such, I think this is something that possibly that can, I guess, how do I'm trying to find the right word. This is something that could basically probably help Warner Brothers as well. This is probably like a you help me, I help you situation kind of deal as well. So that way both AEW and Warner Brothers could come out with some kind of equity or money, being that this is going to be millions of dollars involved. And I'm not sure what they plan to do with it, but I'm interested. And I think this is going a step in a different direction for AEW. I just can't say if it's the right one or not just yet.
So speaking of direction, Dion, I want to pose this question to you. With the concept of potentially $170 million a year, that's a lot of money going to AEW. What do you think, if you are the chief financial strategist over there at AEW, what do you do with this money and how do you use it to improve the product?
Well, I read one place where it said it makes them profitable somehow too, but we don't know the wrestler's contract situation either, because that's where the biggest pool of money is going to, is to keeping people from jumping ship, right? It's a fine deal. I think, you got 3 years with that option, so it's pretty much an NBA contract. It looks like, like it's one of those. But man, that's production wise, they're pretty solid, I guess. They haven't been filling up on a lot of their shows too, which has been a bit of a disaster for them if you just look at Twitter the entire time, right? By seeing like all the blacked out seats. So I mean, until you sort of know the contract situation of those wrestlers, that's where we're spending the most money. And I would also say, if WB needed some help, how about they just put the pay-per-views on Max, because Max, that could possibly lead to new subscribers there too, instead of having to search and find how to order like $50 or whatever a month for that. But it's tough, man. Like they came out the gate with such great production value with their sets, with everything else. It's going to look bad when you have to scale back. But I think they just need to be smarter with this money, be more of a strategist with this, and not sign too many more like super $1 million contract sort of deals. Like that's the only thing that's going to help them at this point, I think.
Courtney, very similar question. If you are in the space to make the decision in terms of how AEW would spend or allocate this money in the first year or so, what improvements would you make to the company?
For this one, I will say it is a solid deal. And going back to Councilman's point, because Warner Brother has a rap sheet of doing a lot of interesting work, but for them, this is kind of a rebranding, and I know this has been a relationship that's been happening with Warner Brothers. It is going to take some time because yes, it is a lot of money, and also under Warner Brothers, because I have seen some AEW stars jump ship to different networks. Like a couple weeks ago, I saw some of them be on Food Network. They could be going on other networks for more appearance brands, as you would see in WWE, where some of them kind of jump ship to other channels on the mainstream. So there is a lot of opportunities there. Also, it would be nice for them to put all their pay-per-views and their weekly shows on Max, because that would be a win-win, especially during pay-per-view times, because that would just be a huge draw and save everybody $50 a month. So for this one, it's just really thinking wisely, keeping your entire roster intact and not spending anything. Keep your roster intact, build from whatever you have, most specifically the AEW originals that you have, like continue building that as well, because that's really going to be a draw. And a lot of them are already draws as well, especially they're homegrown. So it's really kind of keeping everything in house, continue to rebrand. And also it would be nice to see some of the superstars appear more on some of the other sister networks that they have, which would be great, and also draw them to a different audience.
Interesting. If it's me, I think there are probably 3 things that I would make happen. And I'm trying to think of order. I would start with, since you have that kind of money, either build or partner with a space that becomes your performance center. These athletes need a place to regularly go and train. seeing that they don't have live events or house shows. You only get better with repetition. So if you have a centralized place where you can begin training your people, training them in ring, training them in promos, training them on how to conduct themselves, all of those things, I think that's one of the wisest investments that they could make. Take some of the legends that they have, transition them into coaches and producers, and allow them to work in that kind of space. The second thing I would get is I would completely hire someone who is handling all of the strategic aspects of it, particularly creative. Get Tony Khan out of that space. Let him pay somebody who can do that so we can tell some great stories. Now, we know he's not going to do that.
Yeah.
But that's what I would do. And then the third thing that I would do is either, again, kind of strike this deal with Max or invest in a separate streaming service, because given this particular economy, it's unfortunate that there's not one place to go to look at the entire AEW library. At this point, we've got 5 years worth of content. There's no reason it shouldn't be available somewhere. And then again, the model of $50 a pay-per-view is so antiquated for this wrestling economy that it's wild asking people to pay $50 per event when a $5.99 membership with Peacock gets them access to all things WWE. Now we'll see what happens, but I think that's a wise. Oh, I remember my number 3 thing, which I guess now is number 4, is I would be willing to take the hit, because I think where they're losing money is renting out these large buildings and not filling them up. You're absolutely losing money. So bite the bullet and do one of 2 things. Either do all of your tapings at Daly's Place for a while, or scale back and go to smaller facilities. You fill those facilities up, you can still make it look wonderful, because full will always look better than empty. And I think if they do those kinds of things, we'll be in a good place. And I think AEW will get a chance to really do what it has potential to do. But either way, I hope this deal works out for them, because I think, again, having a regular place to be seen on television, having that kind of money flow means that it's going to be good things for them if they can manage that properly. So we'll see about that. Now, we've talked about the need for a performance center. Of course, perhaps the organization with the best performance center is the WWE, and that houses NXT. And last night, we learned an awful lot at NXT about their debut on the CW. One of the big things we learned last night is in the main event for the NXT Championship, they will have a special guest referee. CM Punk will be the guest referee for that title match. And that entire card is stacked. Like, it's almost unfair how stacked this card is for NXT's debut on the CW. We also learned about some of the subsequent things that will be happening in St. Louis, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But let's talk about the insertion of CM Punk into this main event. Will it mean anything for the NXT Championship, or is this just another great way to stack the deck for this debut in Chicago? Dion, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, they're pulling everybody out for this premiere, right? I think everything from this show set up that premiere. Like, you can't miss it. You can see CM Punk. The only good the thing that would be great about CM Punk, if somehow they weave Drew McIntyre in there too, that'll be pretty dope. Somehow, not to interfere, take too much shine away from Ethan and that match. But no, I think inserting him, I know Will's gonna disagree, but I think inserting him gets more eyeballs on it, especially moving to a new network. It's a win-win. And in Chicago, I mean, they're on the road too, so that's like a takeover for them. And if they're showing that on CW, I mean, that's a win-win. And that's just a little part of it, because when they go on the road again, they got St. Louis with Randy Orton. So I mean, you pull everybody out you can for this.
Absolutely. Courtney, your thoughts on CM Punk in Chicago? Will this impact the title match, or will this really more so impact the overall rating for the debut?
I mean, it's no surprise he's going to be coming to Chicago. It's in his hometown. And going to Dion's point, I would not be shocked if Drew McIntyre actually made an appearance. But at the same time, I don't want to take anything away from Ethan Page and Trick, because if you saw last night, they looked like they were ready to kill each other. So it really is going to be a match, and I'm actually excited to see Punk as a referee for the first time in an NXT ring, which has never happened before. So there's going to be a lot of fun. And of course, the crowd's going to go nuts because, well, it's Chicago. And also, the card looks really much stacked in Chicago. There are really much good fights. And also, I know we're going to talk about it later, but the promo between Roxy and CM Punk.
We will get into that. I promise you.
So it was that was an interesting one, but I'll leave it at that.
For sure. Honey, your thoughts on Punk's involvement in this NXT title match?
I mean, I don't blame him for being involved. I mean, this match is going to be pure, utter, complete chaos. I mean, you got Ethan Page, who basically stole the Whoop That era from us, and Trick is still on the chase for the title. They have actually made a very good rivalry out of this. I'm actually very invested in this rivalry now, and I'm like, I can't wait to see them like just rip each other apart and see what happens. But entering CM Punk, it's only gonna. I think this is just a way to stack the deck of how well the card is. I think it's just to up the ante a little bit more. And it's Chicago. You cannot not have CM Punk in Chicago. He is the hometown hero of Chicago. And yeah, I just really hope and pray that Whoop That era comes back, because I'm done with this ego era.
It's going to be interesting for sure. Now, of course, I say the councilman for last because we know of his undying love for CM Punk. So let me ask you, councilman, because I know you had a lot of feelings about this moment. Of course, CM Punk comes out to have his moment in NXT, and he gets interrupted by the NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez. They had quite the exchange. What were your thoughts on that exchange? And there are a lot of people in the chat who are saying or alluding to the fact that this was the best promo that we've seen from Roxanne Perez. So what were your thoughts on Roxanne's time in the ring with CM Punk? And to Dylan's point, was this the promo of her career?
I mean, every promo is the best for my client, so I don't know like what's next for best, but I just think it was a consistent best promo, like, because they all are great. So I don't know if it's her best, but I just think she's never had a bad one. So I don't know how to answer that part. But as far as everything that she said, I it's not about me. I don't want to say as her representative, she's finally listening and that I had a part to play in that. But I'm just throwing that out there. She said everything that all the Pereziacs need to hear. Why are you here? I get it. It's Chicago. Why are you? Matter of fact, why are you here? Why? You came out 5 times at my NXT. I want to see you. You know what I wanted to see CM Punk do? You know what I wanted to see happen? I wanted to see Obafemi come out and challenge CM Punk and drive his punk ass into the ground. That's what I want. Why are you in this match? You have just taken all the shine from these two. And because of your punk ass, Drew McIntyre is going to put a claymore to your face. Ego's going to capitalize, and we are not going to get the Whoop That Trick era to start again, because you just got to be everywhere because it's in Chicago. Is there nobody else on the roster that's from Chicago? Is that what this is? Is there?
I understand your frustration, Councilman, but I do want to make it a point to remind you that it was technically your client, and we know I'm a Pereziac. It was technically your client who interrupted Mr. CM Punk's promo first.
Because she wanted to know the dying question everybody has been asking since his return. When is your wife coming back? That's all we care about. When is your wife?
In all seriousness, though, I think that watched this moment and I smiled to myself for Roxanne in a big way, because I know that CM Punk is somebody she's looked up to for a very, 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 very long time. And to have that moment with her hero and play the villain to her hero, I think that's just absolutely sick. Absolutely sickening. She ate it.
Well, it wasn't hard to do because it's him. It's not that hard for you to not like him. So that's why she ate it that. I'm not saying when the Slammies come out that she needs to win like at least 6 awards, but that one should be the highlight of all of that. Because to see CM Punk not be able to say nothing. You see that weak ass stuff he tried to fire back about her being small? You did not eat at all in your promo. She dog walked you in that promo. You didn't know what to say to her. Julie only said 2 sentences and had a better promo than you while you was out there.
Oh my God.
What did CM Punk do to you, Will? Like what?
Right.
What I want to know.
Please look, because I just got one question. What are you the best in the world at? Are you the best in the world at talking crap?
Well,
yes.
He's the best in the ring, on this mic, even in commentary. He says it all the time.
He says it all. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's what he says.
Y'all believe he's the best in the wrestling ring? You ain't even got to answer. You know he not. Is he the best at getting his
2009 Punk versus Jeff Hardy Punk? I'm sorry.
I think he does what most wrestlers are unable to do, and that is get you interested in watching him in the ring. Yes. I mean, Hogan was never great at that. Hogan was never great in the ring, but he was great in getting you interested in watching. The Rock was never great in the ring, but he was great in getting you interested in watching.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You're not going to deny the Rock his sons.
Wait a minute.
He's talking about moveset and his in-ring work.
I would argue that The Rock is one of the single greatest talkers in the history of pro wrestling. Period. I would argue that there's no debate. Agreed. Like he's in Dusty Rhodes, Roddy Piper ilk.
Ric
like
Flair.
Those. If we're talking about the greatest of all time, The Rock is the greatest of all time. When you start talking about on that microphone, when you get him in the ring,
it's equally entertaining.
I'm sorry, all I heard was
but not all that skilled.
Entertaining, but it's not so much like agility and all that stuff.
Let's be clear. The Rock's finishing move is an elbow, akin to Hulk Hogan's leg drop. Okay, I mean he talks really well. His move set is basic. Nobody's ever talked about, oh my God, The Rock did this incredible. I love seeing, and here, this is why when The Rock returns, we love to see him talk. But we don't need a Rock match. We don't. It's okay.
Bad, Professor.
But if they want to give us one, we'll take it.
See,
we'll take it. He'll talk enough to make it feel important.
Right.
I heard The Rock was the greatest of all time, and I stopped hearing after that. That's all. The Rock was the greatest of all time. You are absolutely right. No, you are right though. Like I'm not. He is not like, again. Love The Rock. As far as in-ring performance, yes. I'm not finna say he is top 10 or anything. But
he
that.
sells.
He's entertaining in the ring.
Selling is great. His
selling is amazing.
Sure.
But yes, if I didn't get another Rock match, I would not be upset.
I don't think anybody would.
I'm not sitting here like, no, I need one more from you. Give me one more. Like, no.
Right. I think to Professor's point, he's talking about in-ring ability when you're thinking of superstars like Mr. Perfect, Bret Hart. Yeah, I said
Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels.
You don't like The Rock sharpshooter?
AJ Styles.
You didn't like The Rock
better than I do not like The Rock sharpshooter. Not more than I like Bret's. I like Bret's sharpshooter totally better. So
let me throw this question out there. Boza asked, will the Hell in a Cell overshadow the main event of the CW launch? You think yes, Councilman?
Well, no, I don't think the launch, but I think for this match, yes. I think it's going to lose its luster because this is here, and I really do think Drew McIntyre is going to show up. And I don't like that for this main event because then it becomes about that. And I'm just like, yo, I really want to see this match between Ego and Trick. I don't want this to be about Punk. Just because I talk a lot of crap about him, I know he's captivating. And I know a lot of people will focus on him. And people are going to be anticipating that that's going to happen. Because I can see Drew coming out, not even attacking him, just coming out and doing this with the bracelet. And Punk running off.
And that could get him out of the way, too. So it's just
and then you get what you want.
Yeah.
No, you're still gonna get Ego capitalizing from it. We get a distraction. We got the shenanigans rather than it being a flat out match where we have a real determined winner. I'm not against it because I know it's gonna sell. It's just not the first option I would have went with. I would have loved to seen these two stand on their own and seeing Trick rise to the occasion of being able to take on someone like Ego, because I'm seeing every week Trick step it up. He's seeing like, yo, I'm seeing what Ego does and why they made him champ and what I need to do to get better. And I wanted to see that in this match and not it be overshadowed by Punk because he's in his hometown to try to hit ratings.
I think CM Punk just cares about the kids and he just wants to help put them over. That's what I think.
It's a good rub, man.
I'm not mad at this. This picture's a big deal.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at it.
With the best in the world in the middle. Yeah.
Somebody clip half of the right side for Trick and send it to Boss Lady.
There's only one best in the world, and her name is Athena. Okay. That's the
what we will get to Athena as well. I must not be moving fast enough because we're jumping ahead, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. Let's see. Dylan says, I enjoyed what CM Punk said, but he shouldn't have promised in that promo that an announcement was coming. Then we had to wait another hour or so. Let's see. There was another one that I wanted to get.
But wasn't it supposed to be about Julia? I thought, because didn't he say
we don't know what it was supposed to be about.
I personally thought it was going to be. I wasn't expecting him to even referee this match. I was expecting him to referee Roxanne and Julia. That's what I thought the announcement was going to be. I don't know why.
Wait a minute. Said is it? I need Trick's estate investigated for baby oil.
Mayor,
stop it.
Sir,
off the top rope. Good grief.
There's the savage.
Check Trick's
what
jaw
else
for next week's Chin Music comment. Gee,
listen. We also learned that what will follow this in St. Louis is a crazy moment. Randy Orton, Javon Evans on the CW. What a follow-up to what's going to happen in Chicago. Here's the question, and I'm going to start with you, Courtney. Is there a world where Javon Evans defeats Randy Orton in St. Louis?
I know he's been waiting for this opportunity for a while, and he was excited when he was facing off against Randy Orton. I know this is going to be a really good match. It's going to go down to the wire. But I have to give the edge to Randy Orton. As much as I would love to see Javon Evans win, have to give it to Orton because, well, one, it's in St. Louis. I don't think he's going to lose in his own hometown. But they're definitely going to show it. And even if Javon loses the match, that could actually elevate his status within NXT, especially with I don't know, maybe he wants to get a title opportunity. So that could at least elevate his status a little bit. Even if he loses to Randy Orton, it's still going to be a really good match between the two of them.
Dion, is there a world where Javon Evans beats Randy Orton in a couple of weeks in St. Louis?
I don't think so, but I think we're going to see one of the craziest RKOs out of nowhere for this one. I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but it's going to come out of nowhere. This is wild. There was a wild stat that Evans wasn't even born when Randy Orton won his first world title.
Oh my Lord.
What?
This is true.
This
is true.
And I looked at 20 years ago, Randy Orton. I was like, wait a minute. Good grief.
I watched when he won that.
Yeah,
Right.
I remember that. I remember that moment. I remember that.
When that happened.
And the thing is like he's in there with Randy Orton, obviously a sure guy he looked up to, right? And he's on the CW in St. Louis. I mean, this is a big stage for him to sort of, I guess, make that next leap, like Courtney said, you know. But in this world, man, Randy just took that loss to Gunther, and shook his hand at the end of there. I don't think he'll lose this one. But man, it would be the biggest shock of the year if he pull, even if it's like a roll up, you know, like even if he just sneaks Randy Orton forward, I'll take that.
A quick one, yeah,
I'll take that one. But the craziest RKO is gonna be Evan Bourne level of RKO. I think it's coming. I can't wait. I'm sad for Evans, but I mean, come on, he's in there with a legend, so it's okay.
Councilman, is there a world where Javon Evans defeats Randy Orton?
Well, unlike you realistic Randys, I'm going to choose to dream. Okay. I think Javon can do it. All right. I think the complete opposite to Courtney saying hometown is where y'all take L's. Sami Zayn, Bianca Belair, all of them took L's in their hometown.
Except Gunther.
So, I think that's a country. That's a country. That was a whole country. He ain't from Berlin anyway. Like he just adjacent. But to Dion's point, like I could see a roller. I don't see a clean win, but I could see like a pin up outsmarting him like that and getting the win. I could see it like that. I don't see a flat out pin from him. But we are, like they said, we're going to see a crazy RKO from him. But I could see him letting him go over to just really give that rub to show like what NXT is doing. And even just being classic Randy, holds his hand up and then RKOs him at the end. And he hits the Randy shrug.
It reminds me of like Triple H versus Sheldon Benjamin. You know, like when Sheldon like was that close to being Triple H, it could be something like that. That came to my mind when you're talking about it, Will. I think it could be something close to that.
Yeah. But I'm a dream. I'm gonna be a dream. I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna be a dream, man. And go for Javon Evans, man. I love to see him topple the Viper and have that win for NXT.
Honey?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like you have the young OG and then you have the OG, you know, and to be able to be speaking about Randy in this way is kind of blowing my mind, and my age is showing a little bit because I remember when Randy first appeared, and it's just like, wow, we are in the legendary leg of your career now, sir. You are on the way to being the Hall of Famer. Just when there was a lot of things that, you know, you were young and reckless and had a lot of crazy moments, and then, you know, there was opportunities that you almost missed that you could have messed up your career, but he bounced back. And he did it with grace. And the fact that he's so grown, this is such a grown up Randy. Like, look at him next to young OG. It's like you're like, he might as well be the final boss. Okay. Like I'm not gonna go against. I've never went against Randy before, and I'm not gonna go against Randy now. And it's no disrespect to the young OG, because we know Javon Evans can go. We know what he can contribute to this brand and to all three when he gets to the main roster. But yeah, Randy, man, I'm not gonna stow away from the legend killer, man. Like he has, there's just so much there in that match that could happen. And I would say that Javon Evans is definitely about to receive the second best RKO. The only reason why I say second best is because there's two number ones for me. There's two of them. There's obviously the Evan Bourne, and then there's also Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. There was just something about the way that looked. Oh, yeah. Like, I already know that this kid is probably going to do like a corkscrew flip or something, and then freaking Randy hits it, and it's just going to be like, holy sugar honey iced tea.
Yeah. I think this is going to get
CM Punk as well. CM Punk at WrestleMania. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful RKO from him. Sorry.
I will say that I think we're going to get a shocker.
Really?
And
Come on, man!
And I think Javon Evans is going to win. I do. Here's why.
Not for nothing. No matter what, I'm not mad at who wins. I don't care. Like,
yeah,
it's gonna be
I mean,
good.
the fact that this match is happening is the real win here. But I think, NXT has always been about moments, and you've got 2 massive weeks happening, your premiere on the CW. There has to be a moment that we go, holy cow, and that would become the signature win for him, catapulting him to wherever he wants to go at this point.
Yeah.
And so I think we're going to see it, and it's going to shock the world, and I think it's going to be great. I could totally see that happening. So,
well, it has to, because one of them titles are changing hands. Somebody's title's changing.
And speaking of titles changing hands, it could be the tag team titles, perhaps, as the team known as Fraxium, which that's a wild name, will go against A-Town Down Under, also in St. Louis. So we're getting 2 massive weeks of NXT, as if NXT on a weekly basis isn't big enough anyway.
Right.
It's pretty significant, the things that are happening. So we are really excited about that. But right now, we want to make sure you check out one of our sponsors.
This episode of Women's Wrestling Talk has been brought to you by All Caribbean Wrestling. Catch the wave. Go to allcaribbeanwrestling.com to check out all the latest pay-per-views, or go on the YouTube page at All Caribbean Wrestling. Also, go and check out their socials on Instagram at All Caribbean Wrestling and on X at All Caribbean WR1.
Some big things are coming with All Caribbean Wrestling. The next big show is October the 19th in Nassau, Bahamas. You see a lot of very familiar faces on your screen. They will all be there for those who are listening. Those faces include Mark Henry, WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, WWE Hall of Famers, the APA, that is John Bradshaw Layfield, who has been everywhere in the wrestling world in these last couple of weeks. Along with Ron Simmons, we'll see Lindsay Dorado, Elijah Burke, New Nation, and a lot of other amazing superstars. So Fight for Paradise in the Bahamas is going to be a thing. October the 19th. You'll be hearing more about that as we move closer to that. But again, thank you to All Caribbean Wrestling for their continued support of all things women's wrestling talk. Now, speaking of support, the wrestling world was kind of thrown for a loop when earlier today, Rikishi dropped a tweet asking for prayer for his son, Jimmy. And based on what happened, a lot of people were and are to some degree very concerned about the health and well-being of Jimmy Uso. We had not gotten any previous reports that there was anything wrong. And then there have been some people who have reached out to WWE to find out, hey, what's going on with Jimmy? And their reports are that Jimmy is fine. So what do we make of this? Is Rikishi just kind of having loose fingers again? Or is it possible that, Rikishi as the father knows something about Jimmy that the rest of the wrestling world does not know? What do you think about this, Dion?
And I feel like Rikishi pops up in my timeline a lot lately, more often than I would like, because he talks about Jay and Rhea and all that stuff there too. I don't believe him. I think because weren't we getting reports before that Jimmy was on his way back, or he was close to being like cleared or good to go?
Yeah,
we did hear he was medically cleared. Yes.
Yeah, and unless there's been like some major setback that's just happened. I think Rikishi's just talking. I don't know. I don't want to believe him in anything he's saying. Yeah, that's all I got. I don't think he's doing anything. I think Jimmy's fine.
Fair enough. Maybe he's getting Jimmy mixed up with Jay. That's funny. Courtney, let me ask you. I mean, you are familiar with PR. Is this becoming problematic from Rikishi? I mean, this is the same Rikishi who just a couple of weeks ago said that he felt like the WWE was mistreating Jay and that Jay should head over to AEW. He's said quite a bit lately. He didn't like, things that were happening with Jay and all of the like. Is this too much, or is this a concerned father who's trying to alert us to something that we otherwise wouldn't know?
Some wrestlers should not be on social media. that's just like case in point. But going back to it, there have been some times where he has gone a little bit too far, because that's when you kind of stir the pot a bit, and then everybody's chattering because you have all these dirt sheets making all these allegations and everything. It's like I don't even know what to believe anymore. But I do think it kind of needs to pause a bit and regroup, because this can get a little bit out of hand. And also considering Jimmy is almost close to returning, and also with the fact that Jay is getting ready for his Intercontinental title match, that kind of really puts a burden on it. So I think kind of needs to take a step back a bit, rethink, regroup, and repause.
Yeah, we'll see what goes down with this. It was definitely a startling tweet. Lots of people were clearly very concerned, and that is still the last thing that Rikishi has posted. He has not posted anything since then. So, yeah,
I kind of have a thought, if you don't mind, Professor.
Go for
I
it.
think Big Quiche, as a lot of people call him in the industry call him. I think Big Uncle Quiche knows exactly what he's doing. For some reason, I can't help but feel like he's just completely working everybody and just getting people to do exactly what we're doing right now, to keep us talking. And you know, shout outs to Big Kishi, because he is a friend of the show and he follows the show as well. And he's also really he's a great trainer at Knox Pro. One of my best friends trains there in California. But I don't think this was meant towards any ill will. I mean, he could speak on his kids. I think he's totally allowed to do that. As far as I just feel like he was trying to stir the pot, but just not as intentionally as we think. I think he definitely knew what he was doing. Knows what he's doing when he talks on his stuff on social media. And not for nothing, the guy's a Hall of Famer. And when they're at that age, they could say a lot of things. Maybe not whatever they want, but they're entitled to say certain things. And it's in regards to his son. So I'm not really mad at it or upset, or just maybe a little confused. But I think Rikishi knows what he's doing. And maybe it's a foreshadowing prayer for Jimmy before he goes up against the Timu bloodline that betrayed him and beat the crap out of him and kicked him out of the group. You never know.
Yeah, what's so weird about this is, on one hand, you kind of want to think, hey, he's doing too much. On the other hand, you know, if details do come out that show that he was, you know, very sensible in this and that he knew something that we didn't, then we'll all feel some kind of way. So I don't know what to do with this. Time will certainly tell. But I do hope that Jimmy is okay, and that you know, this is just an over-concerned kind of situation. One thing we can confirm is the return of an iconic show, and that is Saturday night's main event. You know, This was really kind of the WWE's first foray into broadcast television. They were taking the spot for Saturday Night Live back in the 80s, which was huge. It was massive on NBC, and that relationship has continued. And now Saturday night's main event will air live on Saturday, December the 14th, ironically from the Nassau Coliseum, the same space that aired the original episode of Saturday night's main event. It will air live on NBC, and I've heard Peacock as well. Your thoughts on the return of Saturday night's main event? Let's start with you, Dion. What are you thinking about the return of this show?
I mean, it just brings up nostalgia, right? Like that's what you look at this logo. You're like, you can see my TV isn't HD. I see a lot of fuzzy pictures. That's what I see when I look at this logo. So I'm sure they're going to show some throwback moments and stuff like that. But just having it back, at least for one time, I'm not sure if it's like a one-off or if there's something that they'll do a little bit regularly. But man, I think you just remember moments. There's one moment that stands out that is fairly recent, more recent than the others. But Randy Orton, RK, and Hulk Hogan on the back of that car. Like I've never been that happy.
Wow.
See Randy Orton truly come out of nowhere and finish him off that way. But I think it's going to give us some really good moments. If everybody's on this poster is on the card, it's going to be like sort of a must see, especially in December too, because that's where you start gearing up for Rumble and Mania season. So I'm anxious to see if this is just like, hey, let's have some fun, or if it progresses storylines too. But yeah, nostalgia is the first thing that comes to mind seeing this.
How about you, Courtney? Thoughts about the return of Saturday night's main event?
When I saw that commercial last night, it just gave you an 80s aesthetic feel. It just kind of gave you that, because it had like one of the throwback songs from the 80s and kind of combining it with today's, and plus being back on Saturday night's main event, it really is going to bring that nostalgia. And I'm actually laughing at the comments too, because people are saying rest in peace AEW Collision, which is on Saturdays. I'm like, look, wrestling's always good on a Saturday, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't mind having Saturday Night Wrestling between that and Collision. I just want to be, but I'm excited to see Saturday night's main event come back on NBC. And I'm also going to be curious on who's going to be wrestling in the first matches.
Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Councilman, let me ask you this, and this question will come to you as well, honey. The original Saturday night's main event was very, very special because the other programming that WWE had at that time really didn't have main event level caliber matches that were happening. For those who may not remember or may not be aware, when Saturday night's main event originally aired, there was no Monday Night Raw. There was no destination place that had main event caliber matches. This was it. So my question to you, Councilman, is in the era that we currently have of a Monday Night Raw, of a Friday Night SmackDown, which all are giving us main event level kinds of matches, what do you think Saturday night's main event will represent? Will it be just kind of a design for nostalgic moment, or will it be something that really does move the storylines and become a destination kind of place?
I don't know about moving the storylines. I just don't know if they want to risk having to use another platform to try to interweave those two, to interweave SmackDown and Raw. I do think the nostalgia feel of it is going to work well, but then also too with them starting to tone down on like live shows and start not to do so many. I believe this now gives Saturday night's main event those times to see, again, like we discussed previously when it was announced, that we get to see those matches we thought we'd never see. Like we said, like Braun Breaker versus Gunther here. Like we get to have this as a place where like these dream matches get spotlighted. And you're kind of like, oh, well, who's this guy and where can I see him? You can go see him on Netflix on Monday Night Raw when they go in January. And I think too with them both now, and just correct me if I'm wrong on this, with CW being the only one now on regular cable, you actually have to get cable to watch SmackDown and or Netflix to watch Raw. This kind of strengthens them back into the cable run, working with NBC and strengthening their relationship that they have with Peacock, especially seeing Bianca Belair recently on I will not give the show away if you have not seen it, but she is on a very popular TV show that's on Peacock right now and made an appearance.
You can tell them the show she's on. I mean,
well, I didn't want to spoil, and they'd be like, "Oh, thank you. I ain't seen the episode yet, but she's on Bel Air."
No, I mean, the WWE advertised her appearance on there, so it's all right.
Yeah, I got strayed with the comic book. Yeah. I've caught so many strays with when it comes to stuff like that. Dion definitely knows. Like, oh, thanks for letting me know. Like, it was advertised. Wait,
yeah,
it showed her on there.
It's common knowledge.
Yeah, but I think this could be a great place to highlight though for those that may not know too much about some of the wrestlers. We know the Tribal Chief, all the folks here, but I think having some dope custom matches that we normally get in the lives here might be able to pump that up.
So, honey, let me ask you, you love to prognosticate and predict. So let me ask this question. This will be kind of an interesting bridge. This is happening a couple of weeks, probably 2 weeks to be exact, right after Survivor Series. It's still a ways away from the Royal Rumble. What do you think ends up being the main event on Saturday night's main event?
If they're going to go with that nostalgic formula, which they have been, even with the rollout, the logo, the music, the flyer, the location, if they're going to go with that kind of a formula, you need to have a champion on there. You got to have a champion and title defenses consistently, because not for nothing, if you guys did watch, and I've watched quite a few Saturday night main events back in the day, Hulk Hogan was there every damn week defending the title every week, no matter what. Sold out. Alpha, Roddy Piper, Macho Man, everybody, any wrestler you could think of. So I feel like you need to have Cody, or you need to have Gunther, somebody, or even a women's champion. Why not a women's champion? So we have more women's title defenses consistently. Yeah, I think if they're gonna stick with that, they would need a champion for sure, or at least two to three title defenses maybe on a Saturday night. Just for the hell of it. I mean, because you have to make it interesting. You know, we all know Cody's story. But you want to make Cody's story more interesting, give him more consistent title defenses, like not just every PLE, or have him challenge somebody from NXT, even, because that's something that he's hinted at before when he showed up to NXT. You could have NXT stars go to main event and shoot their shot at a title, women's or men's. I think it would be a really good Saturday night is a great way to stir the pot, which is a phrase I love to use.
I got a question.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
I have a question on this. Could this also be the potential kickoff of John Cena's farewell tour? Do we see him make his first appearance at Saturday night's main event?
That wouldn't be a bad idea. I know it's supposed to start in January, so that would be probably a great way to kick off that whole farewell tour. I'm not against that at all, because I think you're going to want to have recognizable stars in this space. One of the things that I think is really different that we should point out is when Saturday night's main event originally aired, as I mentioned, it aired in the Saturday Night Live slot of 11:30 p.m. Eastern. So it was late night, but that was a very important time. Prime time was equally important on Saturday nights on NBC, and they used to have sitcoms back then and things of that nature. So for WWE to be in that prime time spot is a very big deal. One of the highest rated broadcasts they ever had was an event that they did during the primetime spot. They called it the big event because it wasn't on a Saturday night. It was on a Friday night. And most of you may remember it, even if you weren't alive during that point. But it was Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant, the rematch from WrestleMania 3. And that was the night where we learned about two referees, the twin referees being the Hebners. That was the night. Hulk Hogan lost the title to Andre the Giant, and then Andre gave it to the $1 Million Man, and that led us into WrestleMania 4, the only WrestleMania that a tournament determined the world championship. So there are lots of ways that they can do this to make it crazy. And I think, particularly with Triple H at the helm, they're going to do something really, really nuts to get us at this point for Saturday night's main event. So for those who'd like to make that trip to New York, which, by the way, if you've never been to New York during December, there's plenty to see. Rockefeller Plaza, all of the things in terms of Christmas and decorations and all that stuff. You'll want to go to this. Tickets will officially be on sale on Friday, but the pre-sale starts tomorrow. So you'll definitely want to be a part. And something tells me this will likely sell out. So I'm really looking forward to
I like the
Saturday night
poster too, and the people that are specifically chosen for this poster as well. You see that? You see that, Cody Crybabies? You see who's there, right? We're not too far behind.
Were we ever behind though? Honey?
Never, not never.
I still think Cody trying to catch up.
This storybook could close at any time. Just
Yeah.
one word.
And let's see. Jeffrey said they had primetime wrestling with Bobby Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon. They did have primetime wrestling, but two things about primetime wrestling. One, it was never live. Two, they were always matches that were coming from, live events that really weren't always connected to current WWE storylines. So again, it had a very different feel to it from a Saturday night's main event or even from a Monday Night Raw. Now, what Primetime Wrestling did do, that was the precursor to Raw in terms of the relationship with WWE and USA, where there's always been wrestling on a Monday night. So shout out to them. Let's see. Yes, it was indeed February the 5th, 1988. I'm a numbers guy, and so I completely understand why you remember that. Let's see. New York City has my heart. It's got mine too. Birth year, your birth year, 1988. That's awesome. And yours
Mine
as well,
too.
Cynthia. Very cool.
Mine too.
Oh, wow. 1988. That's awesome.
88 babies up in the house. We rolled deep.
Awesome. Talk shows were hilarious. Absolutely. Yeah, there were some rather funny talk shows. Which, remember, you can also go back and watch Primetime Wrestling and go back and watch Saturday night's main event. That's all available on the WWE Network on Peacock.
Yes.
So you'll definitely want to check
it out.
Yes.
Eric says I was 16 in 88. Well, all right. That's all right, sir. That's all right. Very nice. So I want to shout out Big Bill. Of course, he's part of the Learning Tree with Chris Jericho. But he looks great, and he is celebrating 5 years of sobriety. Yes. So that is a very, very big deal. So shout out to him. He credits his fiance. For those who don't know, that's Lexi Nair. And so they are living a good life. They act well. I won't tell you where they live, but they're doing well. And apparently they're supposed to be getting married in December. So congratulations to them. Side note, and I'm just gonna toss this to Courtney. She'll do with it what she wants. But and Honey and Councilman, you'll know why I'm doing this. Dion, you might know as well. The other day, as in like yesterday or the day before, I found myself watching NXT TakeOver London. And at TakeOver London, there was this very interesting tag team match. It was for the tag team titles. It involves a team now known as FTR defending against this little team called Enzo and Big Cass. And I don't think people realize how over Enzo and Big Cass were.
Oh
man,
it was remarkable. Do you remember them, Courtney, or have you watched that portion of NXT? Or
I do remember them. I actually met them back in 2022 because this is like, when Bill was in AEW, but Enzo was after, and they were still doing wrestling meet and greets together. So it was just nice seeing them together again. And also it was just so fun. They were just really nice to just talk to. They were really nice. They were fun. I remember some of their promos.
When I tell you,
that's great, Dylan. That is great, Dylan. That is really great. That's really great, Dylan.
7 foot tall. Bottom boom. Realest guys in the room. How you doing?
Not for nothing. I don't listen. Enzo and Cass was so over. They even had legend tag teams getting pissed off at them because how over they were. Remember when they interrupted the Dudleys with their debut? My God, Enzo and Cass is something that I wish that we could rewind back to or bring back, because that's a robbery. That was a total robbery. I mean, shout outs to both of them, and they're doing great now. But I'm just saying, soft was way too short-lived. It was way too short-lived, and I needed more of that. It was the best thing ever. And then like when you hear wasn't he in a Rumble? He was like the first entry to a Rumble.
And they did the whole thing.
I was the one in Texas in 2017 in San Antonio. Yes, I was there. And they did the whole thing in the beginning and kicked it off with it. Nothing was more hotter than soft and Enzo and Cass. That's something I wish I could totally bring back. But shout outs to Enzo, because I did see him in the parking lot at the Giants game, not last year, maybe the year before. And you know, I said to him, I was able to scream out to him, shout outs to the realest guy in the room. And he gave me like one of these. And I was like, that's all I wanted to say. No, I acknowledge you, sir. I see you. I didn't want to, you know, because it's a game. You'd want to be more relaxed.
For sure. For those who were listening and didn't get to see the comment, Cindy made a point that I've been thinking for quite some time, and that is Enzo and Big Cass is the biggest fumble I can think of the main roster for years, and I'd have to agree. The fact that they were never tag team champions in NXT or in WWE is a tragedy. I literally saw yesterday a clip when they were on Raw. I don't remember why this episode happened like this, but for whatever reason, the mic wasn't working.
Yeah.
These guys did their full promo without a mic. And the crowd was with them. It was incredible.
It might as well have been the New Age Outlaws, because if you don't know the whole, if you can't, I'm telling you guys right now, for our viewers and listeners, if you cannot recite the whole New Age Outlaws promo, the intro, all of it, we can't be friends. We can't sit at this table. I'm sorry, we can't be friends.
Yeah. Well,
but you know,
there it is. So,
So, oh man, I gotta go rewatch that now. I gotta.
That's really good.
Trust me, you have to go back. It's and again, and in London, I think people forgot they had Carmella with them in London.
Yes.
And so they added Carmella. Oh gosh, it's just so good.
Bro. It was a lot. It was a sight to behold with them two, man.
I need to go back and watch NXT Black and Gold. If it Courtney, maybe we can do an NXT old school Black and Gold rewatch along. And I know.
Now count me in on that.
Yeah, count me in as well. Yeah.
That would be amazing. All right, so we've got to shout her out. Athena is officially the longest reigning champion in Ring of Honor history. It happened just a couple of days ago where she crossed the 646-day mark. Actually, well, because Samoa Joe held the world title for 645 days as the longest reign. Let me ask this question, and Dion, I'll start with you. 646 plus days for Athena as the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. But does it mean anything?
Ooh, I didn't think you were going to hit me with that one. I in the greater scheme of things, with Athena being that champion and carrying that title for that long, I think that's a testament to her. And I think a lot of people are proud of her getting this ability to do that, because we just talked about fumbles with Cass and Enzo. I think she was a fumble too for WWE too.
Agreed.
Heck of a talent, but I think having her as champion again, if you don't watch Ring of Honor and you saw this, but you knew her from her Ember Moon days, you're like, oh crap, like I kind of want to see that's how it got me. Like I may have showed up halfway through this run because I was like, oh, I want to check this out now. But I think I didn't think you're gonna hit me with that one. I think it's definitely a milestone, and definitely one that can't be overlooked because of where she is and her story from WWE to now. I think it's a big deal. It got me, a person who wouldn't regularly watch Ring of Honor, to jump in midway through her run and watch her run now. So it moved the needle for me. But yeah, I'm loving it. The forever champ. I'm in there.
Same question to you, Councilman. Does this mean anything?
Yeah, I think so, just because of the caliber people hold Ring of Honor to. Like, I think there's so many like moments people always refer to that, like, you know, again, as much as I crap as I talk about him, people will always talk about CM Punk in Ring of Honor. I believe also too, if memory serves me correct, I could be wrong, but like Seth Rollins, Ring of Honor, Bryan Danielson, Ring of Honor. So it's like to have something to hold within that place and to leave your mark there, all for some reason, and not for some reason, but it always seems like those folks that do elevate into being incredible superstars, somehow a Ring of Honor is always added into there. So I think her being able to have this stable, to have this to achieve this of 646 days as champion, I think works well for her. Now what she does next, I'm not sure. Hopefully Triple H sees this and allows the forever champion to come home. And hopefully we'll see that. But I think it's dope. And just to throw that out, she has been a longer champion than CM Punk ever was. Just throwing that out there. Best in the world.
What about combined days of all of his championships?
Yeah, I thought we were here as Rock fans. Now we were here when the professor was talking. Really? That's what we doing? That's what we do. Okay.
It's like rolling grenades in, man. That's all.
Okay, if you count NXT, that's about 780. There's those indie titles that gotta count. That's about like 946 days.
Oh my God!
I'm sure she was a 24/7 champion when that belt was out in WWE.
Boy.
So you got to count that. I'm sure that was another 2,000 days. So she probably up there.
What math are you doing?
Yeah, like I'm doing Steiner math. Okay? Don't
so there's an interesting question that came up in the chat. And Boza asks, would Ember Moon be more successful in this era of WWE? And I want to pose that question to you, honey. Given what we've seen with Athena and how dominant she's been and the style and types of matches she's had, how would she fare in this iteration of WWE?
I feel like, obviously she's the other thing, the other bag that WWE fumbled for me personally, because I saw so many big things. I saw this for her in WWE, but since she's here now, I think she would thrive. I think she would thrive in this WWE, considering the longevity that she already has, becoming a 640 something day champion. And with her experience, stepping out of her comfort zone and going to another promotion and creating a name for herself there, just as Naomi did, but Naomi did it more brief. But I think that in this WWE, there'll be so much more for her to work with now, especially with how flexible thing has been and how easygoing Triple H has been with the talent and putting over the women's matches. You could see her going toe to toe with anybody: Liv Morgan, Io Sky, Bianca Belair. You could see, if you want to rekindle some old rivalries when Asuka returns, you have some, or her versus Jade Cargill, like anything, because as Athena is Athena, but as Ember Moon, I saw so much for her, and she got over for me. I thought she was everything. Her entrance, her intro, it was perfect. She had the look, she had the aesthetic, but it just wasn't what WWE was looking for at that time. But now with the women's roster we have, just imagine Athena versus Mommy, Athena versus Jade, Athena versus Charlotte, Athena versus Roxanne. Even you want to talk about long reigns, bring it to NXT, like what I'm saying, like you can always bring her back to NXT because she was definitely very well renowned in NXT as well. But I think that she would thrive if she was in this iteration of WWE, obviously in the Paul Levesque era.
Courtney, same thought for you. How do you think Athena would fare in this iteration of WWE, and where would you put her first, Raw, SmackDown, or NXT?
I actually did enjoy her first run when she was in WWE because it was just something about her that drew you in. It was just they kind of dropped the ball, which I was very, very sad about because I think she had so much potential. It could lead the women's division, but at that time. But I think now, as Honey pointed out, she can actually thrive within the WWE. Like, I could probably see her making a surprise appearance, not on Raw or SmackDown, but maybe NXT could make like a surprise appearance.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. But I could see her be in NXT. Like, I could see her maybe go against not just Roxy, but Kaylani Jordan. I could see her going up against Bayley, Tiffany Stratton.
The Juggernaut.
Yeah, Jordan Grace, the Juggernaut. That could be a good match as well.
Man, come on, guys. Just let Athena have a one-off and bring her to the Rumble. Come on. Just bring her to the Rumble. You know you want to. Bring her to the Rumble.
January's not that far away. Well, no, February. Oh, February. It's going to be in February.
Yeah, that's right. It's February this year.
Yeah.
February.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
February 1st. Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, it should be very interesting, but congratulations to Athena.
Absolutely.
Very, very excited for her. Also, Heels, which originally was on the Stars Network, has actually made its debut on Netflix today. So you can check out seasons 1 and 2. It is on Netflix right now. And there's a lot of talk of potential work with WWE to potentially get to a season 3, do some new things with both of them on Netflix, or at least WWE coming to Netflix in January to create some interesting things. But if you want to see that, make sure you run those numbers up on Heels, which is available right now on Netflix, seasons 1 and 2. You can check that out. Of course, in just a few minutes, we'll be gearing up for AEW Dynamite. And on Dynamite tonight, we'll see Chris Jericho taking on Orange Cassidy. John Moxley will be live, no telling what he will have to say. Also, we will hear from Hangman Adam Page. No clue what he'll say, but I'm sure that'll be interesting. And then from there, we know a women's match is happening. Queen Aminata and Yuka Sakazaki will team up to go against Serena Deeb and the world champion Mariah May. That should be a very interesting tag team match.
This is going to be good.
See Aminata on AEW programming. So this ought to be fun.
2 weeks in a row, and she's on Dynamite. 2 weeks.
I was just gonna say, Queen Aminata 2 times in a week. Sign me up. Let's go. Keep it coming, please.
Yeah, I'm here for all of it. And then a trios match, which will see the Elite taking on Ospreay, Takeshita, and Kyle Fletcher. This actually should go. Yes.
This is gonna be crazy, but I smell shenanigans. You know they're gonna jump Ospreay. You know that, right? You know they're gonna jump Ospreay.
Oh, I wouldn't. Wait, which they?
The
Takeshita and Fletcher?
Takeshita and Fletcher, yes. Oh no, excuse me. It was Okada that he had that. But I don't know. I just felt like I felt like there was some shadiness going on, like when he interacted with one of them last. I don't know if it was Kyle Fletcher or Okada. They're both blonde. I'm confused. Shit.
I think it was Okada last week because Okada and Takeshita were one-on-one with each other. But
there you go. That's what it was. Yes. That's what it was.
But I think next week, I would not be shocked if the Don Callis family turned on Will Ospreay during their title match at Grand Slam.
That's what she said. You heard what she said. That's exactly how I meant to say
it. I'm expecting something like that because Don Callis does not forget or forgive. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that goes down. All right. Here's how you can reach all of us by way of the good socials. Courtney, we'll start with you.
You can find me here Mondays, Wednesdays, and Friday on WWT Live, on Twitter and Instagram at CourtneyNJ11. And in the next half hour, I will be doing my watch along for All Elite Wrestling on tonight's Dynamite. It's going to be fun. I'm excited. It's the week before Grand Slam. So feel free to come out and just enjoy the watch along.
Absolutely. Dion, how can we find you, sir? And tell us all you have going on as well.
Yeah, over on All Star Fandom Show on TikTok and Instagram, and over on YouTube as well. We just dive into fandoms and what's going on currently in those fandoms. We do a few movie reviews, a few TV reviews, TV show reviews, anything under those suns. That's why I'm here talking wrestling with you guys, and I really appreciate it. But yeah, we do a show every Friday where we're doing the reviews for Ring of Power and whatever else comes down the pipe. Me and my partner, Doc, we'll figure it out as we go, but having fun doing it. And again, thanks for having me. I've enjoyed this a lot. I rarely get to talk about wrestling like this. My wife, she puts up with it. So she likes it, but I talk a lot more about it. But no, again, Kemp, super grateful. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Great to have you with us. Councilman, how can the people find you?
You can find me at my new handle, When Is AJ Lee Coming Back, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Help support the movement. Also, make sure that y'all click on the link in my bio for my Kickstarter so we can finally get Sami Zayn a barber that will cut his hair right and finally give him a presentable look. So hopefully Gunther will accept his his match, because I feel like that's why he's saying no. And that's it. And then you can always catch me here on WWT Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. And now, of course, on Tuesday for the NXT Watch Along, which TK is now dubbing Tuesday Night Pharaoh. I always said that because I thought nobody was hopping on. It is Tuesday Night Pharaoh. So he should have joined me on there. So yeah.
Love that.
Awesome sauce. Honey, how can the people find you?
You could find me at Oh Snap Lola main evented last night. You could also not find me.
Wow.
You can also not find me at Hand Me Down Monet or Parkerville or Vice City, but you will always find me in Wyatt Six City, which is neutral territory. I love to be there. Maybe I'll even step around in a Pop Rock City for a little bit. But other than that, you can find me here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays here with the WWT Live crew. Every Friday, we have our Honey Night SmackDown watch along, as well as check out my Honey Pop predictions on my socials. We got Wrestling with Honey Instagram, Wrestling with Honey TikTok, Facebook Wrestling W Honey, and tell your friends about that new podcast on YouTube, the Wrestling with Honey podcast.
Absolutely. This is what we love.
Right there.
Cynthia, you already know, girl. You already know we right here.
The back fist has extra Cholula sauce, according to Booker. That's funny. Special nobodies. Let's see.
And hashtag NXT Bonnerfied, please.
You guys,
before we get out of here.
You guys
out of here.
Y'all are amazing. You guys are really amazing. You can find me at Bonnerfied across all of the social spaces. You can check out my commentary work with IWE and Southern Honor Wrestling on IWTV. And we've got a brand new show that we just dropped with Southern Honor last week. So I think you guys can check that out. And we're doing a show with IWE this Saturday. From there, you can check out my work with the Nightmare Factory. Actually just had a show this past Sunday with them. And Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling, Ashe Wrestling. Our next show is coming September the 29th. That should be fun. And then, of course, All Caribbean Wrestling. Our next show is coming October the 19th. So lots of really cool things that are happening. Plus, I just dropped an interesting video earlier today talking about whatever the kerfuffle is around the new SmackDown theme. So you guys go check that out. Kerfuffle. So
that's a tickling word.
Yes.
So feel free to check that out. Of course, you guys can check out all things connected to Women's Wrestling Talk at WW Talk Pod across all of the socials. Check out the website, www.talkpod.com, and check out all of our shows, including watch-alongs being added, recaps. All of the cool things are happening here. So it's fantastic. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you all, Cindy-Ol and Cousin Ron and everybody, Boza, Special Nobodies, Jeffrey, DM Hunk. I just love that name. That's just great. Eric, Honey's other half. I think I saw MDB in here. Said the mayor, JD, everybody's in here. And plus those who aren't in the chat, but are also watching. We appreciate all that you guys do. Thank you for rocking with us. This, of course, is WWT Live as part of Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at WW Talk Pod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at www.talkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network